In this podcast episode, Lex Fridman engages in a conversation with Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the president of Ukraine. The discussion covers a wide array of topics, including the ongoing war in Ukraine, the quest for peace, the complexities of international relations, and the future of Ukraine. Zelenskyy shares his insights on the challenges faced by his nation, the role of global leaders, and the importance of maintaining a strong stance against aggression. Zelenskyy opens the conversation by discussing the current state of the war in Ukraine, emphasizing the daily realities faced by the Ukrainian people. He describes the relentless missile attacks and drone strikes that have become a part of life for many citizens. The war, he explains, is not just a military conflict. It is a struggle for the very identity and sovereignty of Ukraine. Zelenskyy highlights the resilience of the Ukrainian people, who continue to fight for their freedom despite the overwhelming odds stacked against them. The president also addresses the international perception of the war, noting that misinformation and propaganda have fueled distrust among various nations. He stresses the importance of transparency and accountability in the distribution of aid and resources, asserting that the Ukrainian government is committed to fighting corruption. Zelenskyy believes that the war has united the nation in a common cause, and he expresses hope for a future where Ukraine can rebuild and thrive once peace is achieved. As the conversation progresses, Zelenskyy articulates his vision for peace in Ukraine. He acknowledges the complexities of negotiating with Russia, particularly with a leader like Vladimir Putin, who he believes does not genuinely seek a resolution to the conflict. Zelenskyy emphasizes that any peace agreement must come with strong security guarantees to ensure that Ukraine is not left vulnerable to future aggression. He expresses a desire for dialogue, but insists that it must be rooted in a position of strength. Zelenskyy also discusses the potential role of international leaders, particularly Donald Trump, in facilitating peace talks. He believes that Trump, with his unique approach to diplomacy, could play a crucial role in bringing about a ceasefire. The president expresses optimism that a meeting between Trump, Putin, and himself could lead to meaningful discussions about ending the war. He underscores the importance of having a united front among Western nations to support Ukraine in its fight for freedom. The topic of NATO arises as Zelenskyy discusses the security landscape in Europe. He argues that NATO membership is essential for Ukraine's long-term security and stability. Zelenskyy believes that a strong NATO presence in Eastern Europe would deter further Russian aggression and provide a safety net for Ukraine. He acknowledges the complexities of NATO's expansion, but insists that Ukraine's inclusion in the alliance is a matter of national security. Zelenskyy also reflects on the historical context of NATO and its role in maintaining peace in Europe. He draws parallels between the current situation in Ukraine and past conflicts, emphasizing the need for a robust collective defense strategy. The president expresses hope that NATO will recognize the importance of Ukraine's membership and take proactive steps to strengthen the alliance in the face of ongoing threats. Throughout the podcast, Zelenskyy addresses the issue of corruption within Ukraine, particularly in the context of wartime governance. He acknowledges that corruption has been a long-standing challenge in the country, but emphasizes the steps taken by his administration to combat it. Zelenskyy highlights the establishment of independent anti-corruption bodies and the implementation of reforms aimed at increasing transparency and accountability. The president also discusses the importance of international support in the fight against corruption. He believes that foreign aid and assistance should come with strict oversight to ensure that resources are used effectively. Zelenskyy asserts that the Ukrainian government is committed to rooting out corruption and that the war has provided an opportunity to strengthen democratic institutions. He expresses confidence that Ukraine can emerge from the conflict as a more transparent and accountable nation. Zelenskyy delves into the impact of misinformation on public perception and international relations. He notes that false narratives about Ukraine, often propagated by Russia, have contributed to a lack of trust among various nations. The president emphasizes the need for accurate information to counteract these narratives and build support for Ukraine's cause. He believes that combating misinformation is as crucial as fighting on the battlefield. The conversation highlights the role of media in shaping public opinion and the importance of responsible journalism. Zelenskyy calls for greater collaboration between governments and media organizations to ensure that accurate information reaches the public. He expresses hope that increased transparency and communication will help rebuild trust and support for Ukraine on the global stage. As the discussion shifts to the future of Ukraine, Zelenskyy shares his vision for a post-war nation. He emphasizes the importance of rebuilding the country and fostering economic growth. The president believes that Ukraine has the potential to become a leader in various sectors, including technology and renewable energy. He expresses a desire to attract foreign investment and create opportunities for the Ukrainian people. Zelenskyy also discusses the cultural aspects of rebuilding Ukraine. He believes that preserving and promoting Ukrainian culture is essential for national identity. The president envisions a future where Ukraine is not only a strong military power, but also a vibrant cultural hub in Europe. He expresses confidence that the resilience and determination of the Ukrainian people will drive the nation forward. Throughout the podcast, Zelenskyy emphasizes the importance of global leadership in addressing the challenges faced by Ukraine. He calls on world leaders to take a stand against aggression and support democratic values. The president believes that a united international response is crucial for deterring future conflicts and promoting peace. He expresses gratitude for the support Ukraine has received from various nations, but insists that more needs to be done. Zelenskyy also reflects on the role of the United States in shaping global politics. He believes that American leadership is vital for maintaining stability in Europe and beyond. The president expresses hope that future U.S. administrations will continue to prioritize support for Ukraine and uphold democratic principles. He emphasizes the need for collaboration among nations to address shared challenges and promote a more peaceful world. Zelenskyy poignantly addresses the human cost of the war in Ukraine. He shares stories of families torn apart by the conflict and the devastating impact on civilians. The president emphasizes that the war is not just a political struggle, it is a humanitarian crisis that affects millions of people. He calls for greater awareness and support for those impacted by the conflict, urging the international community to take action. The conversation highlights the resilience of the Ukrainian people in the face of adversity. Zelenskyy expresses admiration for the courage and determination of those fighting for their freedom. He believes that the strength of the human spirit will ultimately prevail, and he remains committed to ensuring that the sacrifices made during the war are not in vain. As the podcast draws to a close, Zelenskyy reiterates the importance of dialogue in resolving conflicts. He believes that open communication is essential for building understanding and finding common ground. The president emphasizes that dialogue should not be seen as a sign of weakness, but rather as a necessary step toward achieving lasting peace. Zelenskyy expresses hope that future discussions will lead to meaningful solutions and a brighter future for Ukraine. He believes that by engaging in dialogue with international leaders, including Trump and Putin, there is a possibility of finding a path to peace. The president remains optimistic that through collaboration and understanding, Ukraine can emerge from the conflict stronger than ever. In the final moments of the podcast, Zelenskyy reflects on the legacy of leadership in times of crisis. He acknowledges the challenges faced by leaders during wartime and the difficult decisions that must be made. The president emphasizes the importance of staying true to one's values and principles, even in the face of adversity. He believes that true leadership is about serving the people and making sacrifices for the greater good. Zelenskyy expresses gratitude for the support he has received from the Ukrainian people and the international community. He remains committed to fighting for freedom and justice, and he hopes that his leadership will inspire future generations to stand up for their rights.